Want you to do something right now. Don't change anything. Just notice. Are your shoulders touching your ears? Is your jaw clenched? When did you last take a full deep breath, one that actually reached your belly? Most of us discovered that we've been holding our breath, tightening our shoulders, and grinding our teeth, and we had no idea. We were doing it before this podcast started. We'll probably be doing it after it ends. And here is what nobody told us: that tension, that shallow breath, that knot that lives permanently between your shoulder blades, that is not a posture problem. That is not stress from work. That is your body telling you something it has been trying to say for years. Your body has been speaking to you your whole life. Today, we learn to listen. Welcome to Elisha Space. I'm Elisha, counselor, author, and your companion in this work of healing. This is a space where we hold the clinical and the spiritual together, where neuroscience and scripture sit at the same table, because I believe God designed them to. If you are new here, I'm glad you found us. This community is filled with people who are doing the real hard, beautiful work of healing. And there is room here for exactly where you are today. Today's episode is deeply close to my heart, and based on what I hear from so many of you, I believe it is going to name something you've been carrying for a long time. We are talking about the unspoken language of the body, how trauma gets stored in the tissues, the muscles, the gut, the breath, and how you can begin to decode these hidden signals so that your healing moves from your head into the full truth of your lived experience. Because here is what I know: you cannot think your way out of what your body is holding. You have to learn to listen differently. That is what we're going to do today, together. Before we go any further, I want to bring you into your body, not just your mind, your body. This is not optional. It is essential for what we're about to do together. The practices I'm going to teach you today work best when you are already practicing being present in your physical self. So let's begin together. If you're in a safe space, let your eyes close gently or soften their focus downward. Let your hands rest, palms up, on your lap or your thighs. We're going to breathe together using a 4-4-6 pattern. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale through your mouth for 6. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once more. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. And slowly release. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, without judgment, just notice. Where did you feel that breath? Did your chest rise? Did your belly move? Did something in your upper back soften, even just slightly? That noticing, that gentle, curious attention to your body, that is exactly the scale we are building today. Let's go. There is a question I ask almost every client I work with, especially in our relationship. And the question is this: what does your body feel like when you walk into a room full of people? And the answers I get tell me more about a person's nervous system history than almost any intake form ever could. Some people say I immediately find the exits. Some say my stomach drops. Some say I scan every face to make sure no one is angry. Some say I feel like I need to perform immediately or something bad will happen. And then almost always, they look at me with a slightly embarrassed expression and say, "Is that weird? I've never really thought about it before." That is where we start today, because you cannot decode a language you've been taught to ignore. For most of us, especially those of us who grew up in environments where safety was conditional, we learned very early that our bodies were not to be trusted. We were told you're too sensitive. We were told stop being dramatic. We were told your feelings are too much. And so we learned to disconnect from the body's signals. We learned to override them, to push through, to perform wellness, even when every cell in our bodies was screaming something different. We got so good at it that now, when I ask you to check in with your body, you might feel a strange blankness, an emptiness where sensation should be, or a low grade hum of discomfort that is so familiar you've stopped registering it as discomfort at all. That disconnection, the clinical term is disassociation. It's not a character flaw, it is an intelligent adaptation. When the body signals led to punishment, dismissal, or danger, the wisest thing the nervous system could do was turn down the volume to protect you by muting the very signals that were getting you hurt. That was wisdom then, but it is keeping you sick now. I want to pause here and ask you, as I describe this disconnection, does any part of your body respond to those words? Is there a recognition somewhere? Maybe a heaviness in your chest, or a subtle tightening, or even a strange sense of self that someone is finally naming this. Stay with whatever is there. It doesn't need to be dramatic. Even a subtle shift in your awareness is your body beginning to speak, and we are learning to listen. There is a Hebrew word I want to bring in here, nephesh. It is often translated as soul, but in its fullest sense, it refers to the whole living being, the self that breathes, feels, and experiences. Not a disembodied spirit floating above the body, but the full, integrated, physical, emotional, spiritual human. Genesis 2:7 says, Then the Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living nephesh. You are a living, breathing, feeling, sensing being. That is not incidental to your spirituality. That is your spirituality. When you ignore what your body is holding, you are ignoring a temple that the Spirit of God Himself breathed into. The body is not the enemy of the spirit. The body is the house of that the spirit lives in. And when that house is in distress, the spirit is not absent. The spirit is waiting for you to notice. So let me get specific with you because I don't want today to be a conversation that stays abstract. I want you to leave with a framework you can actually use, a way to read what your body is telling you. I call these the FIVE, body languages of stored trauma. Five categories of physical signal that your nervous system uses to communicate what the mind has not yet been able to process. Let's go through each one. F stands for freeze signals. This is when the body goes offline. And these are perhaps the most misunderstood. Freeze signals are what your nervous system produces when it has determined that fighting or fleeing is not safe or possible. It goes into a shutdown state, what Dr. Stephen Porges calls the dorsal vagal state in polyvagal theory. In the body, freeze signals can look like chronic fatigue that isn't explained by sleep. You sleep 8 hours and wake up exhausted. That is not laziness. That is a nervous system that cannot regulate its own arousal cycle. Emotional numbness, the inability to feel much of anything, joy, grief, connection, flat quality to your emotional life that you might have named depression. Brain fog, the inability to think clearly, remember things, or follow a train of thought. Because when the dorsal vagal state is active, blood flow is literally redistributed away from the prefrontal cortex. A collapse in the body, rounded shoulders, a sunken chest, the physical posture of someone who has learned to take up less space. If you recognize yourself in any of these, hear me You are not broken, you are frozen, and frozen things can thaw. Before we go to the next language, I want you to take one breath, just one. Notice if there is any part of your body that feels particularly still right now, any area that feels like it isn't quite fully there. That's okay. We'll come back to it in our body scan practice a little later. Just make a mental note. The second body language is what I call ignition signals. These are the opposite of freeze. These are the signals of a nervous system that is running too hot, hyperactivated in a chronic state of fight or flight. Ignition signals in the body can include jaw clenching and grinding, especially at night. This is one of the most common and overlooked. Your jaw is primarily tension holding site. When the nervous system is bracing for impact, the jaw locks. Many of you have a night guard from your dentist. Now you know why. Chronic tension in the shoulders and neck. The body threat response literally pulls the shoulders up towards the ears, a protective posture. When threat has been chronic, the shoulders learn to stay there. That tension headache that lives in the base of your skull, that is an ignition signal. A heart that is constantly racing that seems to come out of nowhere, particularly in situations that your conscious and your mind is identifying as safe, but your nervous system has cataloged as dangerous based on a past experience. Hypervigilance, the inability to fully relax in any environment, always scanning, always listening, always slightly braced for what's coming. Shallow chest breathing. When the body is in threat mode, it starts to shift and it's short, rapid chest breaths, activating the sympathetic nervous system. If your natural resting breathing is shallow and high in your chest, your body is living in low grade threat response. The third body language lives in your gut, and science now confirms what your body has always known. So, V stands for those visceral signs, which means that the gut speaks. We have approximately 500 million neurons in the gastrointestinal tract. Researchers call it the enteric nervous system, the second brain, and it communicates directly with your vagus nerve, which connects with your gut to your brain in bidirectional conversation. This means that your gut is not a digestive organ. It is a trauma recording organ. Visceral signals of stored trauma can include irritable bowel, chronic nausea, or digestive disruption that is not explained by diet. The gut locks up threat responses. Cortisol and adrenaline actually suppress digestive function. If this has been your body's state for years, your gut has been in a chronic state of disruption. That pit in your stomach feeling in anticipation of certain interactions, a boss, a family member, a phone call, your gut is pattern matching before your thinking brain has finished processing. Loss of appetite before periods of high stress or emotional shutdown. The sensation of butterflies that is less excitement and more dread. A queasy, unsteady feeling in the solar plexus that tells you something doesn't feel safe, even when you can't name why. When your gut speaks, it is worth listening. The Bible actually has language for this. Proverbs chapter 20, verse 27 says, "The spirit of a person is the lamp of the Lord, searching out the depths of the innermost being." The innermost being in Hebrew, the word is beten, which literally refers to the belly, the gut. God searches the belly, the visceral, physical, embodied self, not just your theology, your gut. That is not a metaphor, that is architecture. E stands for those expressive signals. It is the body trying to communicate through sensation. And this is the fourth body language. Those are the places where the body attempts to move stored experiences outward because it cannot be held inward any longer. So, expressive signals can include trembling or shaking during moments of emotional intensity or even during moments of apparent calm. The body's tremor response is actually a natural discharge of stored stress hormones. Many mammals instinctively shake after a threat has passed. Humans have learned to suppress this. That suppression keeps the activation locked in. Skin responses can include flushing, sweating, breaking out in hives or rashes during stress. The skin is innervated by the same autonomic nervous system that runs your threat response. Voice changes, a throat that tightens, a voice that goes flat or disappears entirely when someone challenges you. The vagus nerve innervates the larynx. A shutdown nervous system produces a shutdown voice. Tears that come without conscious sadness. Your body processing something that your mind has not yet named. These are not weaknesses. These are your nervous system attempting to complete a process that was interrupted. The body is always trying to heal. Our job is to stop blocking it. The final body language is the one of the most fascinating and one of the most connected to the relational patterns we develop in response to early trauma. Spatial signals are how the body communicates through posture, proximity, and movement. Making yourself physically small, pulling your arms in, crossing your legs tightly, avoiding eye contact. Those are body postures that were learned in environments where visibility felt dangerous. Flinching at sudden movement or sound, a startle response that is disproportionate to the actual stimulus. Difficulty tolerating physical touch, even loving touch, because the body has learned to read contact as threat. The opposite, an inability to be alone in your body, a compulsive need for physical closeness or reassurance because the body has not learned that it can regulate on its own. Restlessness, the inability to be still, because stillness was never safe. There was always something to monitor, something to manage, someone to read. These are all the body saying, I learned something about safety a long time ago, and I am still living by what I learned. Now, we come to the most important part of today's episode because naming the languages is only useful if I teach you how to actually listen. I am going to guide you through what I call the trauma body scan, a practice that combines mindfulness, somatic awareness, and curious, non judgmental attention. This is not a relaxation exercise. This is a listening exercise. We are not trying to fix anything or release anything right now. We are gathering information. We are listening to hear. If at any point this feels activating, if you notice a sudden intensity of emotion or sensation, I want you to open your eyes, plant your feet on the floor, and take one orienting breath. Safety first, always. Are you ready? Let's begin. Start by taking one grounding breath in through the nose, slowly, out through the mouth, completely. Now, bring your attention to the top of your head. Notice without judgment. Is there tension there, pressure, heaviness? Or does this area feel neutral and easy? Move your awareness down to your jaw. Let it drop slightly, just a millimeter or two. Is there release in that movement? Does it want to drop more? That tells you something. The jaw holds what we could not say. Bring your attention to your throat. Is it open, constricted? Does there feel like something caught there? Something unsaid, unspeakable? The throat is where our voice lives. Notice what is living there right now. Move into your chest and heart center. Place your hand here if that feels right. Is there weight, heaviness, tightness, or does your chest feel open and expansive? Notice, is your breath reaching here or stopping before it arrives. Now drop into your belly, your solar plexus, your gut. This is your second brain. What is it saying? Is there a knot, a tightness, a held breath, or does this area feel soft and easy? Bring your awareness to your shoulders without changing anything yet. Just notice where they are. Are they up, forward, holding? This is where we carry what we were never meant to carry alone. Finally, move down into your hands and your feet. Feel the weight of them. Feel where they make contact with whatever surface is beneath you. This is the body's connection to the present moment. The hands and feet are your anchor. Now, gently, without analysis yet, ask yourself, where in my body did I feel the most? Where was the loudest signal? Where was the most tension, the most weight, the most constriction? That place is where your body wants to begin. Here is what I want you to do with what you just found. Don't immediately try to fix it, release it, or pray it away. First, get curious. Ask your body, how long have you been holding this? What are you trying to protect me from? Second, validate it. Say internally or out loud, I see you. What you're holding is real. I'm not going to fight you. Third, breathe into it. Take one deliberate breath and consciously direct it toward that area of tension, not to force anything, simply to bring it oxygen, to tell it, I am here with you. That is the beginning of decoding, not a dramatic breakthrough, a beginning, a conversation opening. Your body has been waiting for this conversation for a very long time. And I need to say this clearly because I know some of you are still waiting for me to tell you that it is all in your head. It is not in your head. The tension in your shoulders is real. The gut knot is real. The jaw clenching is real. The shallow breath is real. These are measurable physiological responses produced by a nervous system that learned a long time ago that the world was not safe. You did not imagine your pain. You did not manufacture your symptoms. You adapted. And those adaptations live somewhere. They lived in your body. Romans chapter 8, verse 26 tells us that the Spirit intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. Your body groans with language that is too deep for words, and the Spirit of God is not absent from that groaning. He is inside it, present in every unspoken signal your body is carrying. You are not abandoned in this, you are accompanied. So we've named the languages. We've done the scan. We've found the signal. Now what? I want to give you three beginning practices. These are not complete therapeutic interventions. They are entry points, the start of conversation between you and your own body. And I want you to hold them gently with patience, the way you would hold anything that has been hurt. Once a day, ideally at the same time, which anchors your nervous system in predictability. Take 60 seconds to do a brief version of the body scan we just practiced. You can do this in the car before you go inside, in the bathroom before a difficult meeting, in bed before you sleep. Simply ask, where am I holding right now? Write it down if you can. Over time, you will begin to see patterns. You'll notice this tightness always comes on Sundays before I see my family, or my shoulders climb when I open my email. These patterns are your nervous system's autobiography, and they are incredibly important data for your healing. Practice two is name it to tame it. This is a phrase neuroscientist Dr. Dan Siegel uses, and the research behind it is compelling. When we name an emotional experience, when we put language to what we're feeling, we activate the prefrontal cortex and reduce the amygdala's threat response. So when you identify a body signal, the knot in your stomach, the held shoulders. Practice naming it out loud or on paper. Right now, I notice tension across my chest. That tightness feels like dread. That dread is connected to this conversation I need to have. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to perform calm. You just name it. And naming it creates distance. Distance creates choice. And choice is what trauma steals and what healing returns. Practice 3 is the somatic prayer. This is where we bring the clinical and the spiritual together in the most intimate way I know. When you've done the scan, when you've named what you found, when you're sitting with that place of tension or weight or constriction, bring it to God, not in your words, in your body. Place in your hands, place your hands on that place of tension. Take a breath into it and simply say, Father, I can't explain what this is yet, but I know you already know. I'm here in this body you made with this signal I don't fully understand. Meet me here. That is not a theologically sophisticated prayer. That is the most honest one. And I believe, based on the Romans 8:26 promise, that the Spirit takes that groaning and makes it intelligible to the Father. You don't need the words. Your body's honesty is the prayer. Before we close today, let's return to the breath one final time. Come back into your body. Plant your feet. Let your hands rest open. Inhale through your nose, 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale completely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this time, as you exhale, I want you to imagine that breath moving through the area of your body where you felt the most tension today. Not forcing anything, just breathing through it, witnessing it, being present with it. Your body just participated in something today. It showed up. It let itself be heard, even a little. That is not a small thing. For some of you, that is the bravest thing you've done in a long time. Here is your challenge. Once a day, just once, before you open your phone, before you check your email, before you speak to another human being, spend 60 seconds in a body check-in. Ask, where am I holding right now? Name it, breathe into it, bring it without editing, without shame to God. Just 60 seconds. One conversation between you and your body. One honest moment before the day takes you away. If you want to go deeper, start a body journal. Just 2 or 3 sentences a day. Where was the tension? What was happening? What might be connected to? Over 30 days, you will have a map. And a map is the beginning of knowing where you are. And knowing where you are is the beginning of finding your way home. I also want to say something to the one who just did that body scan and discovered something tender, something old, something they've been carrying so long it stopped feeling like a weight and started feeling like just themselves. That tenderness is not weakness. That is the place where healing lives. That is the place where God reaches in, not to bypass what is there, not to erase it without witness, but to be present in it with you. To say, I know I have always known, and I have been there, and this body you have been running from the whole time. Psalms 139 verse 13 says, For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. He knit the inmost being, the whole, embodied, sensing, feeling, and complex self. Every tension pattern, every held breath, every unspoken signal. He knit them. He knows them. And he is not afraid of what he finds there. Neither should you be. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode gave you language for something you've been living without words for, please share it. Someone in your life needs the conversation. Be the reason they find it. Leave a comment. Tell me, what signal did your body speak today? I read every one. Until next time, I see you. I honor your courage, and I am so grateful for this space we share. Take good care of yourselves.